Well, hello everyone. Guess who we've got here? Emma Weaver!
Yay! Oh,
So
amazing.
Emma is actually one of our co-authors in Think Limitlessly. And her story honestly just grew as she actually was writing the chapter. And it's very depictive of who Emma is. So welcome, Emma.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. So excited to be here and look at that book. Amazing. Just wow.
It really is. It's incredible.
Yeah.
That flow of energy in there just keeps rippling out. You know, that infinity sign is everything that we actually keep talking about, right?
That's what keeps putting a smile on our face. It's like, yes. It's gorgeous.
So Emma, first of all, you share, an incredible story about you in this chapter, but without giving too much away. Can you give us a little bit of insight, and particularly as to why you chose to name your chapter what you did?
Okay, I'll try not to give anything away. It was a journey. I mean, and obviously I wrote things before. This is special. Your book is amazing, and it took me on a journey, and it was very thought-provoking for me about me, which I'm not quite sure how that happens. So I do tell a bit that maybe people don't know about me from I was younger right up until now. And some of the learnings, some of the hard learnings along the way that I am absolutely more than willing and happy to share now, because I own it. And if it's able to help someone else or support someone else or make other people curious to different things in life, I was more than happy to do it. It also lent itself very well to allow me to learn a wee bit more as well. So it was nearly like therapy. I delved a wee bit more into myself and allowed myself to grow. And also, because of the way that the book is, where the future Emma that I aspire to be is in that book.
Yeah.
Like, how amazing is that? So it really, really, really was a journey, and allowed me to really focus and channel a certain energy and thoughts around where I've came from, where I am now, and the future, and really making a ripple in the world and accepting and owning my part. Does that sound? That's big. It's deep, but the book is.
It is. And I remember when we first actually, started to talk about it, and it was, what do you want me to do?
I know. What? Not just write a chapter. No, Emma, this is the way it's going to be. So, and I loved your vision, Cathy, was so clear. And everybody else, obviously, in the book the same, but your vision was so clear. It was it was beautifully executed, and yet challenging, thought-provoking. The vision behind it, it was just amazing.
I think one of the things, particularly with the women in this book, they're all on a journey, and that journey is, I see it as almost at the precipice of where they're going to be. And
yes,
you actually share a part in your chapter that is, you actually have the power within you. And in some ways, that's what this was for me in asking you to write that chapter. Go deeper, So tell us a little bit about that.
And you did keep saying that to me. Just go deeper. And something that I've learned about myself, I suppose acceptance is huge as well. So the deeper you go, the more you're uncovering. So it allowed me to show up Emma. Show up Emma. So the chapter is Emma, past, present, and future, which is absolutely amazing. And to get to understand really why I do what I do, and the thought behind it that maybe I don't talk about or explain very well. And like ultimately, and you know this in me, I talk about my 3 pillars, and one of them is women, supporting women. So I wrote about why I do that and why it's so important that we all do that. it's huge. But support everybody, but women in particular is one of my pillars. And it's in the book, and it's because of my journey and because of what I learned and because of the women around me as well.
You have such an in-depth lived experience, Emma. You know, a lot of people probably have not gone through your journey, but your outlook in life is so positive. You know, there is a realistic optimism in the way that you actually look at life, right?
Yeah, I'm not doing it through blinkers. I genuinely see it. Yes.
You also actually talk about, you know, whose limits are actually there within us. And we do have limitations. We set our own limitations, really. We don't tend to see them. But talk to us about that part, you know, as you were actually writing your chapter.
And I recognized, and thank you for bringing that up, I suppose we put limits on ourselves, and they can be based on our environment, the people around us, and just inherited limits. And I didn't realize, and I remember whenever we first met, and we were just chit-chatting about the younger Emma and some of the stuff I'd done, and we were laughing about how I was like a force to be reckoned with. I literally went against the grain, and we were laughing because I said that. But it isn't until you talk about it that you realize that you do these things. It just felt the right thing to do, so I done it. But obviously I am from Ireland, and Ireland is a small country, and there are lots of limits and barriers in place here that maybe aren't in other places, but every country has them different. So you've got this young girl sprouting up in Ireland, and everybody's looking, thinking, well, she's not really conforming to what normally happens around here. And I'm not even really seeing that. I'm just doing. And it's on looking back in it that I realize, yeah, absolutely busted through the stigmas, just kept doing my thing because I believed in it. But there was challenges, and there was limits, and there was limiting beliefs, and there was barriers maybe put in place that I was able to overcome that were very limiting. But sometimes, and I put it in the book as well, and we spoke about this earlier, I just knew where I needed to be. I didn't necessarily know how I was going to get there. I just kept my head down and kept going, knowing, observing that there was limits, but doing it anyway.
You know, it's interesting because when you're a young child, you don't seem to actually have those limits. But as you become almost, you know, cognizant of the things around you or everybody else's expectations, you start to apply those limits, right?
Yeah, and you have to be aware of that.
Absolutely. Now, you talked about women, you know, and how you have this passion for women. I think women do that really well, as in hold on to everybody else's beliefs. And so those limitations really, you know, they stick.
I know, and you want to be part of. And I quite often talk about this, you know, when I was in school, and I recognize this now, sometimes when I'm going through something, I don't really realize it. It's on reflection that I realize things. But like, I didn't run with the crowd. I didn't want to be part of the cool club. I was just happy doing my own thing, nothing amazing or fancy. So I didn't really, and that has served me well, kind of just doing my own things, because not to let, and like, I think we do get caught up sometimes, and I question myself on occasions, is this my belief, or have I got this from somewhere else? You know, becoming a young mum, oh gosh, can I have a career? Can I get myself through college? Can I do that? There was a lot of limits, and there was a lot of limiting beliefs of people around me. Just do it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. You also actually share, you know, a story where somebody else actually almost, you know, they sort of tapped you on the shoulder and said, yeah, I can see that in you. And that was actually the beginning of where you went, and why not, you know. You give an insight, you know, of people to be reflective, and you've talked about, you know, looking back quite a bit, but you talk about being reflective and then actually helping those that are actually coming up behind you.
And that's really important for me, because there was people on my journey that had me along the way. And, you know, And what I try to explain to people as well, it doesn't have to be a huge, big gesture. It doesn't have to be all singing, all dancing. It just needs to be authentic. It needs to be real. It needs to come from the right place. And we need to hold space for other people. So whether it's in conversations like this, whether it's in the written word, whether it's in creating opportunities for other people, let's do it. Let's do it. And do, say whenever you believe in something and you have this, you just kind of know because maybe you've been there before or you understand the circumstance or situation, it's no trouble. It just comes natural. It's no trouble. And you can tell by the energy of the person that you can trust them, that whether they know or believe or whatever it is. And I think that's really important.
It really is. But sometimes people actually, I guess, unless you ask for help, they don't actually extend the olive branch either. So, having the courage to actually ask for help is really big. What about the understanding or perhaps actually recognition that sometimes we actually play small? How does that sit with you?
Yes, I've done that. We know this. I have done that, and sometimes as well find it very hard to accept other people saying to me, Emma, oh my goodness, you absolutely could do that 1,000,000%. And sometimes it takes for me to hear that to level up, to go, okay, so you borrow someone else's belief until you believe it in yourself. But playing small doesn't get you very far. It definitely is in the risks that we take, the courage that we display. And in those situations, see your inner, what you're telling yourself is really important. So to make sure that you're in the right space, that you're telling yourself the right things, affirmations, and know why you're trying to achieve something, because there's comfort in it, but it's not really going to get you very far. And the question would be why. You'd need to ask yourself, why are you playing small? Why is that what you want to do?
You've recently actually gone through, I guess, an experience of looking at what else, you can actually look at. But you shared with me earlier something that's actually really important. And I think for every reader, in reading your chapter, just recognizing what you just shared with me earlier is actually going to give them a bit more insight of who Emma is and what really drives you. And that's no small task in what you're wanting to do. So give us a little bit of insight about that.
Well, I suppose I wear a couple of different hats, but one of the things that I am so passionate about, and this, we've had conversations about it, is mental health and support. And like working 23 years managing different services was no easy task. I think I might have even been the youngest manager in the system. But I want to make sure that when people need support, that it's there and then in that moment, not a day later, a week later, 2 weeks later. I think it's really important that whatever environment that we're in, the moment that you need support, there is someone or support there for the there and then for you as a person, and then work it out after that. And really, when we're talking about this, and the book is all about it as well, it's drilling down to the nitty-gritty details of what it is you're trying to achieve, why you're trying to achieve it. And we've talked about this as well. The how doesn't necessarily have to be hyper-focused on. You just need to know the other things. And it's learning all the time. I have these conversations all the time. People say, what do you do? I'll explain to them what my business is, why I do it, what I'm trying to achieve. But now I'm like getting deeper, getting like, why do you want to do that? Why? What is that? And that's what it is. It's appropriate support straight away in the there and then, and not waiting for everybody. And that there's different means of doing that. And I suppose that's all part of the journey, in the book.
I think, the pandemic certainly has contributed to people being more aware of what's happening for them. So many people reach a stage and they go, I just don't know why I'm feeling this way.
Yeah.
And in so many ways, if we can prevent that, that would be the ideal situation. But, what you're really actually crying out for help and looking for people to collaborate with and to really change not only a system, but the way that we actually look at things is to put your hand up to ask for help,
Yeah.
and for help to be available.
Down there. Yeah, that is the thing. In that moment, we're literally, I just hold my hands like this, you're there to hold for the other person in that moment. That's the important thing. That, so, you know, they call it mental health first aid, because you are the first responder in that moment.
Yeah.
That the support is there, because I believe, and this is my belief, that's a bit of a deal breaker. Things where they're going to go this way or that way, let's have it all the same and have support for people there and then. And whilst I do so many different things, that's the essence. That in that moment, that you don't be thinking, oh, there's no point in me saying anything because there's nobody here to help. That thought should never have to enter your head. Just ask. Just ask.
Yeah, it is so simple, and yet we almost actually accept that it's not going to happen, so we don't actually even look at trying to make it happen, right?
Yeah. So let's make it happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, you actually give some takeaway tips, Emma. Do you remember one of those tips that perhaps we can actually leave for our viewers or the readers actually think about?
One of the tips was reach back to those people that are coming behind you and bring them on the journey with you. Let's do this together, and never be afraid. It doesn't lessen what you're doing. It doesn't take away from. It just builds it stronger.
I think that's one of the things that you and I really actually align with, you know, making sure that whatever journey we're on, it's not about us actually taking that step forward and then allowing the other person to fill our previous position. It's, we're all going to do this together.
Come with us. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is how we're aligned. That's exactly what it is.
And it's a really different way of looking at things, isn't it? I don't think a lot of people actually recognize how powerful that is. And sometimes we fear that, oh, but they may actually get there before us. It really doesn't matter. It's about the action,
really
right?
Yeah, it really doesn't. And everybody's journey is so different. And, you know, I would have been in situations before where it was like, I would support you to do well, but not better than me. And it's like, straight away, there's no winners in that scenario. Let's do it together.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Emma, one final thing for anybody who's listening or who's going to actually be reading this chapter, what would you like to share with them?
I would like to share with people, adversity in your life is there for a reason. Don't shy away from it and own it and learn from it. There are no mistakes. And I genuinely mean that. There's learning in everything. And that's something from a very, very young age that I found out, to learn about things. And don't be so hard on yourself. You're doing a great job.
Very good. Well, everyone, this is the beautiful Emma Weaver. Emma, as always,
I know.
It's been such a pleasure talking with you. And where can people contact you?
Anybody, any of the socials under Emma Weaver or Mental Wealth International is, like, you know, what I do if people want to get the essence of how I try to support people on their mental health journey.
Thank you, Emma. It's been a joy.
Thank you.
Always.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
so privileged.
Woman.
Yeah, you'll find me anywhere.
All right, we'll wrap this up.